and just being inexperienced in cave diving. Like, it's one thing to be a scuba diver and be a Navy SEAL versus being an experienced cave diver. It's two entirely different things. It's almost non-equatable.
You try and dive those kids the whole way, all you'll be bringing out is dead bodies.
What's up, YouTube? Drive-By Movies here, and you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name's Blaze.
And today we're checking out the Ron Howard film that hit Amazon Prime, 13 Lives.
Johnny, okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just give me a minute, please. Okay. We can make it.
13 Lives is the story of a rescue mission that is assembled in Thailand, where a group of young boys and their soccer coach are trapped in a system of underground caves that are flooding. So this is a story that we all know. We all know the Thai cave rescue story, but how well do you know the Thai cave rescue story? And I felt like watching this movie, I was learning more and more about the actual story that really took the world by storm. I feel like everyone knew about this story and was following fairly closely, but were they following as closely as they could? Well, you'll find out once you watch this movie, because I felt like this movie unearthed a lot of things that weren't really public knowledge for the greater good, obviously, but we can get into that. But James, what do you think about this movie?
Well, I think it was absolutely fantastic. Ron Howard just coming out swinging every time. Like, I know Ron Howard's up there as one of the A-list directors who's made some of like the best classic films of all time. But then I think about some of his stinkers though also, and I'm just like, it's whatever. Like a few years ago, I was just like, Ron Howard's just whatever. He's just made a couple good movies. Then a movie like Rush comes out where I'm like, damn, that was good. Then, you know, it's been about a decade later again, forgot about some of his other movies that he's worked on. Like, I don't even remember. I remember Solo, but what else has he worked on since Rush? Then he comes out swinging with this like amazing movie. Of course, the story is a big part of why this movie is so good. I knew about this story, but I didn't know. I knew like how long it took getting them out, but I know nothing about scuba diving. I didn't realize that, like, you know, part of this has to do with like, you know, it takes weeks of training in order to do that. And I didn't realize that per kid, it took 6 hours and stuff. And I started
think it's 7.5, almost 8. So don't
and how
undersell
long
it.
of a distance too. Just absolutely unreal. And just for a 2.5 hour movie that I started at 11 o'clock at night, I was just gripped onto my couch and didn't stop the movie and just enjoyed the hell out of it. And I want to learn more information. I know that there's a documentary that came out recently called The Rescue. But yeah, fantastic movie, I thought.
Yeah, it's funny because this was a movie where I felt like Ron Howard's definitely one of those directors, you mentioned it, where he has some stinkers in there. And even sometimes, like, I really like Rush. It's probably the last movie I saw by him, but there's like whatever he did in between Rush and that, like Solo and everything, I didn't check those movies out. So honestly, anytime I see Ron Howard, I do get a little like, gonna have to buckle up. And then I see the runtime, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Whoo, boy, this one's gonna be a long one, you know? Like, and then I have to say, you nailed it. Like, this movie just really gets you, grabs you, and you're entertained the entire way through. I think a lot of it does, you know, stem on the fact that this was just a really crazy story. Maybe given to any director, it could have been a great movie. But then again, I think the way that he told the story of this film really did it for me. It was beyond just the actual story itself and the way that he portrayed the story, because there's a lot of different cogs at play here. While I still feel like this film feels very minimalistic, like it has a decent like cast, not crazy, like, but I feel like slightly ensemble cast in the sense that nobody is given like 100% screen time or anything crazy like that. I don't feel like yeah, Viggo Mortensen and Colin Farrell are really in it, but we really don't like focus on their characters that much. It's really just the scenes that you see them in, but they're not in the entirety of the whole film. This film really feels more like an ensemble movie.
Yeah, it's definitely focused more on the story so much, and every character has their moment. Like even some of the parents and stuff, the kids, even the governor of the location in Thailand where it goes down. Like just like everyone has their moment to shine, even though it's not really a movie where there's like, oh, this actor deserves an Academy Award nominee, because that's not what this movie's about. It's just about telling an incredible story and giving out more information about what went down and stuff. Because I mean, as the movie conveys, there was stuff that they just couldn't give out to the public. Like the public would have freaked out and said, this is how you're going to get these kids out? Like, no way. And stuff. And like there's no, but you understand why they made the decisions they had to make and why they were so desperate to go in that direction and stuff. This was a worldwide event that didn't involve just Thailand. They had to bring volunteers from all across the world, hire these professional scuba divers and stuff, and not like go to just the Navy SEALs per se. Like of course that's what they do at first, but reaching out and just seeing how dedicated everyone was and how big of a thing it was for everyone to focus on making sure everyone comes home alive and stuff too. I wasn't sure if anyone died and stuff, and I was really amazed to see all 13 people that were stuck in there were able to get out with how tricky of a thing it was and stuff. Because I've always heard scuba diving, if you're ever going to go to Hawaii on a trip, you have to take an hour class and stuff, and it's still very dangerous if you do it incorrectly. And that's just if you're doing it for a couple hours and stuff for fun. Imagine doing what they were doing in the pitch black. It's just absolutely insane and unreal.
So I mean, I feel like there's a slight elephant in the room when it comes to talking about this movie. Spoilers, but yeah, it does. I mean, it's a news story. You could literally search Wikipedia and find the whole spoiler of their movie. And I'm not going to spoil that. Yes, all the boys get out alive, but in the element that I think the biggest spoiler for this film, but it is general news, like I said, is the fact that the kids were under ketamine, and like a lightweight anesthesia, I guess. They were dosed up on ketamine to make it through the whole trek. And if that was just a headline at the time, this was kept away from the news and kept away from the general public. But if that was a headline at the time, can you only imagine that the way people would have come out that this was inhumane or, I feel like this film wrestles with a lot of the heavy gravity that could be found around this whole issue of the fact that Viggo Mortensen's character experienced one rescue before where they had the person that they're rescuing died, I think halfway, he said, through the rescue mission, and they had to take the dead body out. So he's never been involved in a successful rescue mission, let alone a rescue of 13 small children through a 8-hour trek through a cave that you can't even see your hands in front of your face because the water's so murky. So I feel like this film really captured how intense the gravity of the situation was, while also kind of showing this side that I feel like everyone was grasped by this news story when it was in the news, but no one, even after the fact, I feel like this was the first time I ever had heard about the fact that these kids were all under heavy anesthesia while going through these cave systems. Which is kind of there's definitely some moral things around, but being the fact that all 13 children survived, they didn't really lose anyone in the operation. Besides, there were 2 deaths during this whole rescue mission, where one of them was a Navy SEAL that we do see in the kind of beginning of the movie die from just suffocating in the cave system and just being inexperienced in cave diving. It's one thing to be a scuba diver and be a Navy SEAL versus being an experienced cave diver. It's 2 entirely different things. It's almost non-equatable. But that was, one person died that way, and then another person I think got a blood infection from scraping their hands on a jagged rock, and I guess getting a staph infection almost, and died a year later from a blood infection, which leads me even to be that's crazy that these kids were getting injected in the leg and none of them got a blood infection. I mean, to my knowledge, got a blood infection. It just seems like an open wound, also in this murky, dirty water. I don't know. This whole story is just insane. But that was one thing that I kept, I was even asking people, you remember the cave story? Did you know about this? Just because it literally blew my mind when I was watching the film. I was like, what the, especially when Viggo Mortensen confronts Joel Edgerton's character, with the idea, and it just, Joel Edgerton's are you insane? Like, he's an anesthesiologist, but he's just like, what are you, like, are you crazy?
Mm-hmm. And just the idea that, like, we don't even know what they're really thinking necessarily. Like, I knew, like, when I heard what his, like, profession was like, oh, like, you know, are they going to put him to sleep and stuff? But they never flat out say what they're thinking or what they're trying to do until it's time to take action and just like, no, this is the final and only option we can do and stuff. And when it's brought up and stuff, like, no wonder why nobody really knows that part of the story, because I think everyone is just under the impression that they gave a little lesson in the once they found the kids on like, yo, this is how you're going to get out and you're going to scuba dive through us. You just got to follow us and stuff. And you know, it's impossible. And I like that they conveyed so early on in the movie, like, you know, it's a great callback and, you know, that's like, you know, rewarding the audience, like as dark as it was in a scene when you see that first person that they rescue that was looking for the kids and how much he freaked out after scuba diving for, you know, only for minutes underwater and stuff too. It's just like, that's how dangerous it was. And a kid having to do that for hours getting through, you know, like this long tunnel system, just absolutely unreal, and highly recommend it. Like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't believe it's you know, such a great watch and stuff. One of the best of 2022. It came out just right at the cusp at the end of the year, and I'm glad that we were checking it out this year and stuff because it was an easy one to miss. I feel like everyone's fantastic in it. Colin Farrell, I think, like was like it's like one of the few roles where I don't see Colin Farrell kind of. He like was a really different kind of take for him, and Viggo Mortensen's just always a badass kind of, and same thing with powerful Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, definitely. I say this movie's like well worth to watch it. It's kind of a shame that I didn't see it before the end of 2022, but I think I might just add it to my top. I had some weird number this year. I think it's like a top 9. So it's going to be on there somewhere. Yeah. But yeah, this is like one of those sleeper movies where I honestly was kind of dragging my feet going to watch this. I'm like, oh, is it going to even be like good? Like Ron Howard. But I mean, Ron Howard now for me, like I haven't seen his full catalog, but he probably has more hits than misses for just the films that I've watched personally. I've stayed away from the ones that I knew were going to be a miss from the start.
Right.
Solo.
Yeah, no, 2022, like, surprise, because it's been years where we've been struggling putting our top 10s and stuff. I think we're struggling even making top 5s the past 2 years due to COVID and stuff. But, you know, I was very comfortable with making a top 10 last year and stuff. Have to revisit it after this one. But, yeah, I highly enjoyed it. It's easy to watch if you have an Amazon Prime account. If not, though, you can check it out through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. It's a great way to help support the show. After doing that, come back here and leave a comment letting us know what you thought about the movie.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all our latest updates.
And if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, catch all our social media links down below for Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.